Hello everybody, I'm very happy to meet Michael Telllinger from South Africa, where he's running for president just now, and he is one of my allies in trying to get away with money.
Yeah.
Hello Michael.
Lovely to meet you, Franz. Excellent to be here in Austria on your home turf and to meet you in person, because I've been following your work on the internet and fascinated by your expose of the crimes of the banking families and the banking system, and especially important for me that it's someone like you with your background as an educator and a professor of economics at an established university that is now speaking out against the system, where many like you are too afraid and too scared to speak out.
Yeah, I know, and there have been some troubles in my vita since that time, but as everyone can see, you can overcome that. And this is the most important fact in the life of everyone. Don't run away, don't be afraid, stand to what you believe in and make it happen. And if you want to change the world into a better one, like Ubuntu, or a world without money and without a medium of exchange and slavery, hidden slavery, secret slavery even.
Very much a secret slavery. They're doing their best to make it, to keep it secret.
But they won't succeed any longer.
No.
I think within only some months, perhaps, the mainstream media will turn around.
It's, you know, what I sense is happening is that the fringe is very quickly becoming mainstream. And the mainstream media is being put under so much pressure now because of the alternative media talking about this and exposing this, that the longer the mainstream media waits, the bigger the gap between the lies and the truth is going to become. And they're going to be found out. And when the people find out that they've been lied to by the mainstream media, they will lose all credibility, and it's going to virtually be impossible for them to recover from that kind of global, unbelievable lie. So on that note, I think I must just state unequivocally for everyone that's going to watch this, that, and I trust you'll agree with me, that the entire global financial and economic system is the largest organized crime perpetuated against humanity that we've ever seen.
I totally agree with that. But then let me add something very important. It is a systemic crime, and it's not the fault of a certain person or even a certain family. We should do away with that, even in this case. So in a new society where we are all cooperating for the common better, we even have place for people from this elite. They can join us. We have nothing against them. We're just doing away the system. And by doing that, we are freeing them. Taking away their roles that they are not feeling so well in that.
I'm so glad you said that, because sometimes when people come across my work and the philosophy of Ubuntu contributionism, and they're new to it, they think, oh, what, you're fighting against the banks and so on. And my answer is, no, we're not fighting against the bank. We're not fighting against anybody. The time for fighting in the human growth of consciousness is over. We can no longer fight. We've done enough fighting on this planet. All we're doing is highlighting what they're doing and showing that it's the wrong path for humanity, and that we can no longer carry on this path, and showing themselves that we can no longer, and actually thanking them, saying thank you for teaching us that this is not the way humanity should go. And now we're going to find a new way. And so there's no conflict here. It's about informing and education and choosing a different path of cooperation rather than conflict for humanity.
It's a new phase of human development, of global human development, and I believe that now we are coming into in an age, a human age, of global cooperation, where we can manage to create a win-win situation for everyone.
It's the only way ahead. And in essence, that's pretty much the sort of fundamental statement or explanation for what Ubuntu contributionism is. When people ask, well, describe it in a sentence, and my opening sentence is normally, well, it's moving from a society that's driven by money and greed to society where people live in united communities driven by a purpose to benefit everyone in the community by using their God-given talents or acquired skills for the greatest benefit of everyone in the community.
Mm.
And if it's not good for everyone, it's no good at all.
Exactly.
So what I just wanted to ask you is just to take us through some of the points that you've been teaching about where the money system is tricking and lying to the people, and you know, making people still believe that the banks actually give you something when they're giving you absolutely nothing.
No, they're giving you nothing. We all know today that our currencies are fiat currencies. That means there are no gold coins. There's nothing of value. Even the paper is nearly worthless. And then we don't even need the paper today. The most money that we have is the electronic money, the virtual money in the computers of the banks. And now, if we look at how this money, electronic money, is created, it is created as a debt, and it is a double debt. This is absolutely nonsense.
It's what you refer to.
It's the debt of the borrower as well as the debt of the bank. Yeah.
Okay.
They both go into debt, and now this is the real reason why this debt can never be paid back.
And this is what you call double book entries.
Double entry bookkeeping.
Double entry bookkeeping.
Yeah,
that's right.
Double entry bookkeeping is at the root of our problems, because you understand that you can always only get more of the money if you are taking it away from someone else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? The only way to avoid it is to create new money. This can only a bank do in our system.
Yes.
And then you create it once again as a debt.
Yeah.
So this is just a one-way ticket
for disaster.
into hell.
One-way ticket to hell and to disaster. And what for me is most criminal about this is that, first of all, as I mentioned to you in the foyer downstairs, I've traced this back thousands of years to the ancient royal bloodlines, the first priest kings that issued the Sumerian priest kings that issued the first money on clay tablets. And the same system is used today, except they don't no longer printed on clay, they're now printed on paper. And it's creating promissory notes, bills of exchange, and negotiable instruments that are valuable behind the desk inside the bank, but have no value really to the people because... Yeah. And what's staggering is that this bloodline of bankers is still the same bloodline that has retained this right for thousands of years. And what most people are under the impression, and this is critical for people that watch this discussion, is that the central banks of most of the countries in the world do not belong to the governments. They're private companies, private corporations. Most, if not all of them, controlled by the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, and the banking families of the world that are controlled by the BIS, Bank for International Settlements from Basel, Switzerland.
Exactly, yeah.
And that is the key kingpin organization in the world that is dictating to all the central banks what they may and may not do. And then the central banks, in turn, write the financial and economic policies for their respective countries. Because they're invited by the government to do so. So the fact that our governments know this, that there's a private company allowed to dictate policy for the people of the country, that the people are not aware of, and that this private corporation then allows the printing of this fiat currency with no value except that they enslave its people. That is a crime against humanity by our governments and these corporations that are allowed to do this. So, what is the solution?
Now, if you have the right to print private money as a central bank, for example, it's very funny and it is weird. You print something that has practically no value on a sheet of paper.
Yeah.
It costs 1 cent. Production costs. And then you sell it to the government and the people. So, if you print on that the value of $100, your profit for one sheet is $99.99. But then again, you don't get money back in return for exchange. No, you get bonds.
Yeah.
And the bonds are carrying interest. So what we in fact do, accepting a private financial system, is it is the only business model in the world where you can something with obviously nearly no value, you can sell it and you can lend it at the same time.
So you use a very important word there, bonds. The government gives the bank a bond that enslaves its people.
Yeah,
to
and
pay it back.
that's the reason why we pay taxes.
Yes. In other words, the government puts its people into bondage for that bond that they give the banks in return for these worthless pieces of paper.
Yeah.
Spectacular deceit.
Exactly.
Spectacular. So this is really what the Ubuntu party is taking into the South African election as a promise to our people.
Great.
Is to say that we will close down the central bank and replace it with a people's bank. A people's bank that is owned by the people and owned by the government of the people and not owned by a private corporation in Basel, Switzerland. And that people's bank then issues the same pieces of paper for the people, for everything that the people need to do, tax-free and interest-free. Because that's what money ultimately should be. It should be there as a means of exchange for people to achieve and not to be put into bondage and slavery.
Exactly. And what I would suggest is create a database with all your resources and then put on the internet, on the web, the production processes as open source.
Yes.
So that everyone can contribute.
Yes.
And if you have scarcity or a bottleneck, make it public and invite the people to help.
Yes.
To help to eliminate all bottlenecks,
yes.
And then we all come into abundance.
That's
very fast.
That's actually great that you said that, because part of the our manifesto is to say that we will we'll create great public works on every level of human endeavor. Wherever there's a bottleneck, wherever there's a problem, where it's fixing the railways, fixing the roads, planting more food, supporting the farmers, getting rid of Monsanto, introducing scientific support for all the farmers so they can grow organically healthy food, getting rid of the drug companies that are trying to control the natural healers and traditional healers, stealing all the traditional plants and herbs from the traditional healers, and laying patents on traditional healing plants. I mean, it's criminal.
Yeah.
So all the areas of human endeavor that have been shut down by the government corporations and the bankers, the banksters, as we should really call them, will be turned around and provided for by a people's bank. Because now, if the people are issuing money for the people, money will be available for everything.
Exactly.
And that's what it should be, right?
And you can use the computers and the networks of the bankers
Yes.
to implement
Yes.
the processes of real economy there,
Yes.
and the learning processes in cooperation. Bring together the knowledge of the whole population, and then they can cooperate.
Yes.
And then there is no need for competition anymore.
No.
Yeah?
No. And this is, again, very important fundamental principle. The Ubuntu philosophy is to move away from competition and start working on cooperation.
Exactly.
Because only on cooperation will we find infinite resources of new energy, infinite resources of curing all disease, infinite resources and solutions for all the problems that we face.
Great.
Cooperation.
Yeah.
I think competition is one of the most evil philosophies that have been implemented or introduced into the human race.
And this is one of the rare statements that I totally agree with Mr. Rockefeller. Once he said, competition is a crime.
That's amazing.
Yeah. They know it. They know it.
Wow.
But they use it for the personal gains and not for the common goods.
Yeah, yeah. So the other interesting thing I want to bring up is once you have a bank or a situation where money is available to people in their communities for whatever it is that they do, and we find a source of free electricity, we get to the very exciting point that I call the starting phase of contributionism, where you can create the platform for a contributionist society that is fundamentally an Ubuntu society, but with a slightly more modern face, if you want to call it that, where people can live in a community of their own choice, not forced through socio-economic circumstances. And let's face it, most people today live where they do, not by choice, but because they're forced through socio-economic circumstances. And people don't often realize this. They will actually argue with you, well, I'm free, I can do what I want, I live here by choice. Most people don't in the world. They're forced to live in horrible places.
Can't afford to change their lives.
Can't afford to change. Can't escape the rat trap. As somebody said, even if you win the rat race, you're still a rat.
Great,
So you've got this foundation for contributionism where you give free electricity to the people, and we know that free electricity has been discovered. Obviously, everybody that knows the story of Nikola Tesla and many others will know that free electricity has been discovered for the world, but has been oppressed by who? The bankers.
JP Morgan in this case,
JP Morgan was the main culprit here, and continues to be. So we are in an interesting situation that, as you may be aware, new free energy devices are coming up everywhere. It's almost becoming unstoppable now. And very soon, I believe, like you said, in a few months, possibly in this year, still 2014, we will see the definitive free energy device come out.
I'm absolutely sure about that.
Now, that becomes a foundation. Once you can offer a group of people free electricity and say, look, we're going to give everybody free electricity, but in return, everybody has to do something for the community so that you have this free electricity. And it's not slave labor, it's by choice. You choose which of the community projects you want to work for 3 hours a week.
You make them an offer.
They choose. We all know what we need. We need food, water, building materials, healthcare, education, you name it, right? And all these community projects get set up by the community. Why? Because we have free electricity. We can set it up.
Exactly,
right? And now that we've got it set up, everybody can contribute in whichever area. If they're a chemical engineer, they can be involved in the sewage works and creating sewage into energy and fertilizer or whatever it is, because it gives them a kick. And they love doing it. And very soon you've got so much production, so much produce and abundance coming out of a small community where everybody gives 3 hours a week, that all of this stuff is available for the people themselves, that they start to make it available for everybody on the outside for a fraction of the cost that the people in the communities around them are paying for it in their own communities. And that's where I see the collapse of the capitalistic system at that moment. Because the moment you do this, all the surrounding communities will start to come and get all their things from you, from your community, and collapse their own capitalistic model, and will have to adopt your contributionist Ubuntu model, not because they are forced to, because they actually want to.
Definitely, It's the freedom of choice. At the end, it's the freedom of choice, and this is only the freedom, the personal freedom, makes the life worthwhile.
So, Franz, now there'll be some people that watch this who are very well educated, and as you and I know, the higher in education you go, the more brainwashed you become. Unfortunately,
this is the problem of our educational system today. So we have to change that as fast as possible.
And it seems that they once again, who set up the education system?
We know.
The banking families set up the education
families, the Rockefellers in the USA, they founded the universities. They invented even science. Economics. Just an invention.
So you're saying that economics
science? Is a tool.
So it was invented by the bankers.
It was invented. It's pseudo mathematics. Ludwig von Mises already said it. He said the use of mathematics in economics is an abuse.
Wow, that's amazing. Because mathematics is really describing the laws of nature and sacred geometry,
but not the laws of the people.
No.
The people should always have the possibility to understand their own laws, to be able to change them. I thought this is one of the greatest tricks, to make the people believe that the laws of economics are in the same way unchangeable as the laws of nature.
It's beautiful. So what would you say those guys that are still holding fast, you know, I'm doing well, I don't need to change anything, I don't want to change anything, I'm happy with my lot, you're making this stuff up. What do you say to people like that?
Inform yourself. Yeah. Inform yourself, look around, read some books, watch some YouTube videos, and then go out there and talk to the right people. Talk to the right people. Talk to your banker, to your lawyer, talk to your representative in the Senate or in Parliament, and then just look what do they know, and what do they dare to tell you.
You know what amazes me is how ignorant some of these people are. In fact, how ignorant most of these people are.
It's fear. I think it's fear.
That's it. I was about to say it.
Yeah.
It's all fear-driven, and most people that don't want to listen to this information are really just driven by fear, because it means that their ego gets assaulted, because they're educated, they've gone through school and university, they've paid a lot of money for their education, right? And now you're telling them that the whole life and the whole entire education is one big lie. It's too much for most educated people to swallow.
Now see, if you are an educated, academical economist, you know your profits always come from information asymmetry, asymmetrical information. If you have studied this stuff, you know informational asymmetry is a source of wealth and profit. And the common people out in the streets call it fraud. And that's the difference. That's the only difference. It is the kind of language that we use. And this is a social and cultural phenomenon and a psychological phenomenon. So if we once again learn to speak the same language with one common meaning, this must be the first step into a holistic new society.
You know, the other thing that many people are not aware of is how the legal system and the banking system are completely inextricably intertwined.
One is the product of the other.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it goes back to the Sumerians.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, the Code of Hammurabi, the first written law in human history, goes hand in hand with the first Sumerian tablets as forms of money. And here we are 4,000, 5,000 years later.
And the idea of property.
And the idea of property.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Because those first priest kings and those first royal bloodlines laid claim to all the land. And then they made the people their subjects and they had to work for them. Yeah. And there the whole idea of property was stamped with a seal, and the crown seal, and you start seeing all these symbolisms go back in thousands of years. And it's spectacular how this...
The simple people, even in medieval times in Central Europe, they were part of the land.
Yes.
And were owned by the emperor.
Yeah. So, what else can we share here that will be of benefit to those watching this?
What we are trying now to implement, as first as the idea is, that in a new society we don't need political parties anymore.
Yes.
Yes. We are all one.
You know, again, you should be running for Ubuntu. You should start the Ubuntu party here in Austria.
In fact, I'm doing that. I call it cooperative individualism. I come from the other part. I say, if our aim is to make life for each individual as abundant and as optimal as possible, then we all will profit from that.
Yes.
Give each individual maximum freedom, but then let's cooperate and not fight against each other.
Yeah.
Because we need people that are different. Because the more different people are, the greater is the synergy when they cooperate.
Well, you know what you just said there? You said two very important things that I talk about in my presentations. And I say, only out of unity do we get infinite diversity. Because when people unite, they feel safe to do whatever they want. And because As we mentioned earlier, if it's not good for everyone, it's no good at all.
Exactly. And I'm coming from the other side.
Yeah.
I say the more different we
Yes.
are, desto easier is the unity. Yeah,
Exactly. So it's fantastic because it just shows you how we've been lied to for so long.
Yeah.
Work hard, get to the top. You must get to the top of the pile so
And
you can be the best and you can control everyone else.
Each and everyone gets the same education. Yeah? It's just a blueprint. Yeah?
Yeah.
And there you have no synergy. Yeah? You have no genuine
Well,
synergy.
you know, think about our education system today. You know, it's not an education system. It's
No.
called. You have to realize it's an indoctrination system.
It's a brainwashing system.
It's a brainwashing indoctrination system that creates future labor force.
Yeah, and it creates, it implements the idea to follow authority.
Absolutely. And fear authority.
Fear authority.
Fear authority, follow authority, respond to instructions from authority,
Yeah, command and control system.
without any questioning.
Yeah.
Anybody in any kind of uniform automatically assumes authority. So, what? So the cooperation is critical here. Only out of unity will you get infinite diversity.
Yeah.
If people cooperate, they can start doing so many different things. And I want to come back to the situation of when you start issuing money for the people by the people, and suddenly money is available for everything.
In abundance.
And in abundance. So you'll have people living in communities and they say, well, we need to build a bridge over the river because whatever. And say, well, let's get the money from the bank. And because the money is readily available from the bank, a time will come very soon that they're going to say, well, why do we actually have to go to get the money from, why don't we just build the bridge? Why do we always have to go get the money? Let's just build the bloody bridge. Because we're doing it in any case. All the people that are supposed to work on the bridge are going to work on it. You're all getting everything for free from your community because that's what everybody does, contributing. So, and slowly but surely, people use less and less money, and before you know, the money will be
They
money will
won't
be
need it
gone.
anymore.
They won't need it anymore.
Now, I think if we make money available for each and everyone in abundance, then in the old system we called this development hyperinflation.
Yes.
And then the elite made feel us very bad.
Yeah.
We only got receipts for a cold soup under free sky
Yeah.
and things like that.
Yeah.
But in fact, this was the only time in history where people woke up.
Yeah.
Because they understood money is worth nothing. Okay?
Yes.
So if we now have again the situation that we have money in abundance, but not goods and services, then the first time we'll understand not the money is the important thing, the goods and services are. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if we are all sitting in the same boat, in the same situation, we have the same interest in the best quality of goods, services, in ecologically recyclable products and things like that. Because those sources are for each and everyone, with no social difference.
Absolutely.
And then we are all
Yes.
together pulling on
Yes.
one string.
And this is what I love. I just love the way that you're saying exactly the same things that I say with slightly different words.
Yeah.
You know, everything is available for everyone all the time,
Yeah.
whatever you need. If you're a rocket scientist, you must be given and have access to everything you need as a rocket scientist.
Yeah, exactly.
And money should never stand in your way.
Exactly.
If you're a farmer developing new crops and that, you should be able to do whatever, because you're doing it for the community, not just for yourself. And that's fantastic. So slowly but surely the money will fade away and we'll have a utopian society.
Yeah.
And this is where you start getting those that don't believe in that and say, oh, you guys are just a bunch of dreamers. That's a utopian idea. It'll never work. And
utopian projects
yeah.
have always succeeded.
And yeah, and my answer to that is, well, it always begins with a dreamer.
Yeah.
It needs one dreamer and the rest will follow. Because everybody wants to escape.
And here are even two of us.
Exactly. Because obviously the situation we have in the world today cannot continue for much longer.
No.
And in a sense, those that have created the problem are providing the solution.
Yeah.
By pushing the people so far that the people have nothing more to lose.
Exactly. Yeah. There is no choice left.
Yeah.
We
So
all together have to jump into the cold water
yeah.
to find out that we can swim.
So maybe on parting words, to people that are watching this, what would you say?
Yeah, let's start our experiments in South Africa, in Germany, in Switzerland, in Austria. We know that we want the same thing, we have the same vision, we share one vision, and now we can share it with our population.
Yes.
We invite them, no matter from where they are, from which part of society, from which families, which history behind them, it doesn't matter. Because when we are working together, we have the same chances, we have the same goals, and then we will succeed, definitely.
Well, I'd like to pick up on what you said a few minutes ago, that money does nothing, that people do it. That's exactly what I say. Yeah. Money does nothing. People do everything.
Exactly, yeah.
People plant the seeds, grow the food, build the bridges, solve the mathematical equations. People are capable of infinite love and creating beautiful works of art. Money cannot do that. Only people can do that.
They invent new technologies, always the people.
So, slowly but surely we're going to get rid of the money and people can continue growing the food and building the beautiful bridges and creating the works of art without the restraints of money. And so, as you said, in South Africa we're starting the Ubuntu party. The Ubuntu party is alive and well, growing very, very strongly towards the elections. And if all goes well, we will be in Parliament after the 7th of May.
Great.
And I do believe that that'll be huge encouragement and encouragement for all other countries in Austria, Switzerland, Holland, especially the countries that I've been traveling, the United States, Canada. We've already had emails from all these countries that say, can we start an Ubuntu party in our country? And my answer is yes.
Definitely.
We've got the foundation. The philosophy is there. Everybody believes that this is the direction we should be going. So if all goes well, 5 years from now, we could have an Ubuntu party in the parliament of 190 countries around the world.
Great, great. Yeah. This is something that I would like to support. And then after that we will see that we don't need political parties anymore, even that, because we all are humans.
Yes,
and that's enough.
And maybe on that note, I'd like to end here and from my side and say that that's exactly what the philosophy of the Ubuntu party is not to govern people. People can govern themselves. So one of our first philosophies is also to start breaking up the centralized government structure and allow people to look after themselves in their own communities, making decisions for themselves for the best for that particular community, because they know exactly what they need and want, and they don't have to wait for some central figure, authority, to make decisions on their behalf.
Principle of subsidiarity.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you very much for your talk.
It was a great pleasure, and we keep in contact and support each other.
Thanks very much, Franz.
Thanks.